going to be giving you guys my predictions for UFC 313, Alex Pereira versus Magomed Ankalaev. It is upon us. Alex, stop running away from me. A little bit differently. I'm going to be breaking down the main event, Alex Pereira versus Magomed Ankalaev, which is truly the fight that you care about. This is the fight that you care about. I'm not going to do a 45-minute video talking about every single fight that you don't really give a fuck about, and I really don't. So I'm just going to talk about the main event, the co-main event, and some of the fights on the main card. And I'm going to start off with the main event. I'm giving you guys what you guys want to see right away. Alex Pereira versus Magomed Ankalaev. This is an incredible main event. This is the fight that we've been asking for. I mean, when that Khalil Roundtree fight got announced, we were all mad, right? We all wanted Magomed Ankalaev to finally face Alex Pereira, and then after Pereira, beat Yuri Prochazka in the rematch. He knocked out Jamal Hill at UFC 300. We're like, okay, who's the next guy for Pereira? Who's the guy that can truly test Pereira at 205? And we all knew that it is Magomed Ankalaev. He's truly the real test for Alex Pereira at 205. Is that guy. I know he gets a lot of hate because of his fighting style, because he's Russian, because he, I guess, is a crotch sniffer, which I really don't understand, because Magomed Ankalaev, like, in most of his fights, he doesn't really grapple. I believe the last time he grappled, like, really wrestled was against Jan Blachowicz or Anthony Smith. I think it was a Jan fight. And a lot of people think he's boring. I don't really think he's boring. Like I said, I think he gets a lot of hate. I'm actually a big fan of Magomed Ankalaev. I really am. This is not like, oh, I'm just a fan of him because of this matchup. Like, I've been a fan of this guy since he fought Anthony Smith. I mean, that was, what, 2-3 years ago? So I've been a fan of Magomed Ankalaev for quite a while. And I've been wanting this matchup. I've been wanting this matchup because I truly do believe that Magomed, even though he's not Merab Dvalishvili, he's not Khabib Nurmagomedov when it comes to his grappling, I think he's a very dangerous matchup against Alex Pereira. And this is one of those fights where I feel kind of iffy, man. I feel kind of iffy picking either guy. Like, I'm honestly not confident. I'm just going to be straight up with you guys. I've made a lot of prediction videos where I'm very confident. Like, when I picked Dricus du Plessis to beat Israel Adesanya, that was a pick that I was very confident on. When I picked Topuria to beat Max Holloway, that was a pick that I was very confident on. This is one of those picks where I'm like, oh, I don't really know who's going to win. I'm going to make a pick, of course. I didn't just clickbait you guys. But I think it could go either way. And part of that has to do with me being so impressed with the way Alex Pereira has fought at 205. I was one of his hardest critics early on, especially when he was moving up to 205, coming off the Israel Adesanya KO loss. I was like, you know what? I don't know if Alex Pereira is going to be able to handle the power of these big guys. I don't know how he's going to look at 205 against Jan, against Yuri. I don't know if he's going to be able to survive the power. But we've clearly seen that Alex Pereira is a true light heavyweight, and that his body has acclimated to the weight class. Like, this is truly his weight class. He's not a 185er, and he's looked awesome. I mean, he's been incredibly durable. His power translates. He's way more powerful than the 205ers. And it's honestly kind of impressive that he even fought at 185 at one point in his career. Like, the fact that he cut that much weight to make 185 is absolutely insane. But he's impressed me, guys. He's impressed me. And I've been really wrong about Alex Pereira. I mean, I picked him to lose against Yuri Prochazka in that first fight. I picked him to lose against Jamal Hill. And after that Jamal Hill fight, I was like, I just can't underestimate this guy. I got to stop underestimating, because the narrative that I always had against Alex Pereira was, oh, he's chinny. He got knocked out by Israel Adesanya. Jamal Hill's going to land a straight right hand, and he's going to knock out, or a straight left hand, and he's going to knock out Alex Pereira. He hasn't been hit by someone like Yuri Prochazka. Yuri's going to be a little bit too unorthodox. And I've been proven wrong time after time after time after time. And with all that being said, I do think Magomed is a little bit different. And I think rewatching the Khalil Roundtree fight, and even though Alex Pereira did very well, he survived early on. Khalil looked very fast on the feet. Early on, landing the straight left hand, landing the right hook. Pereira was kind of like, he was landing his shots as well, but he was being very patient, even though he started very aggressive. And then he got caught in moments. I believe he threw like a head kick. And then I think he went over Khalil. And as he went over Khalil's head, Khalil Khalil landed like a counter right hook, if I'm not mistaken, or a counter left hook, and it kind of dropped. It kind of stunned Alex Pereira for a bit, but it wasn't like, Alex Pereira was about to get finished. But he did get dropped by Khalil Roundtree, which I do think could be kind of relevant because Magomed Ankalaev has very, very fast hands. Very good striker, and I think that a lot of people are actually worried, I think, too much about his grappling. And I definitely think that grappling, the wrestling, even though, like I said, I don't think Magomed is like Merab Dvalishvili where he's just going to be shooting non-stop takedowns. I think that the interesting part about the grappling is that it can be used as a weapon, but I also think it could kind of be used against Magomed Ankalaev, because if Magomed takes down Alex Pereira and he's not really able to do like anything with it, especially early on, and he kind of gasses himself out, that could be very dangerous for him on the feet in the next round, if you know what I'm saying. Like, he could actually drain himself out by actually forcing the grappling against Alex Pereira. And I think that even though Alex Pereira doesn't have like the level of grappling of a Magomed Ankalaev, I think he's trained enough. I think he's good enough at this point in his career to, stop submissions or like to really stop Magomed from landing ground and pound. Like, I think he'll be good enough to survive on the ground. I don't think he's going to be like submitting Magomed Ankalaev or anything like that. But I think that's the interesting aspect about the grappling. It could also work to the favor of Magomed, because if Magomed, gets those takedowns and kind of makes it like a scrap against Alex Pereira on the ground and just kind of drains him and just kind of like, gets him really tired. I mean, that could also work against Alex Pereira, who I don't think has the best striking defense, because if Alex starts to tire out and Magomed Ankalaev is still fresh, I mean, he's going to be landing his straight left hands, his right hooks, and I could just see Alex Pereira getting stunned at one point by Magomed Ankalaev, because Magomed, I think, he has a little bit more power than Khalil Roundtree. Maybe Khalil's a little bit faster, but not that much faster than Magomed Ankalaev. Like, I really do think that Magomed's best weapon here is going to be his striking. I think the grappling can be an assist, and I think that it definitely opens up, it makes it an easier fight for him. I definitely think so, but it could also work to his detriment, because like I said, if he's not really able to do anything to Alex Pereira on the ground, he's going to get tired himself, and that could also leave him open on the feet. I mean, we saw in the fight against Jan, Jan was doing very good early on with the low kicks, with the leg kicks, of just really stopping Magomed Ankalaev on the feet. And even though Magomed was also landing pretty good shots against Jan, like, it was still pretty competitive on the feet. Like, you could tell there was a clear advantage for Jan on the feet. And I think Alex Pereira, he throws really good low kicks. He throws better low kicks than Jan. Obviously, he's not as well-rounded as Jan, but he has way more power. I mean, yeah, he has way more power, especially at this point, especially this current Jan. Maybe prime Jan, I don't know. I mean, I think Alex Pereira definitely has more power than even a prime Jan. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's a very interesting aspect about this fight. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. I think that as the fight goes, the later the fight goes, I actually think it favors Alex Pereira. I think early on, it actually kind of favors Magomed Ankalaev. And I know that's a little bit of a hot take, because I think people kind of see Alex Pereira maybe knocking him out early on. That's definitely possible. I mean, you can never count out on Alex Pereira getting a knockout. But I actually think this is going to be kind of a long fight. I think it's going to be a very patient fight. I mean, Magomed Ankalaev is very patient. I mean, we saw in that fight against Alexander Rakic, he kind of waits for his moments. He waits for you to kind of like overextend, and then he counters, and then you kind of get stunned and you start moving back. But Magomed Ankalaev, like, he's a very, very patient fighter. I mean, we even saw it in the Johnny Walker rematch, that he was very patient and he was able to catch Johnny Walker and TKO him up against the fence. And then Alex Pereira is also pretty patient early on. So I think that early on, like, nothing's really going to be happening. Like, Alex Pereira is going to be trying to pressure him. Maybe Magomed Ankalaev lands like a straight left hand, but it really doesn't stun Alex Pereira. And then I think Magomed Ankalaev might shoot for a takedown. I think he's going to attempt a takedown early on, even though he says that he's only going to strike. And I definitely think he can still win if he only strikes. I mean, I know that's a hot take too, because people say, no, Magomed Ankalaev definitely needs to grapple. And I mean, yeah, it would make it a lot easier for him to win, but I don't think it's a necessity. I actually think he could hold his own on the feet. I don't think he has more power than Alex Pereira. I think he's more defensively sound. I think he has a good straight left hand. Obviously, you cannot get hit by Alex Pereira, and Alex Pereira has definitely gotten more confident on the feet, fighting guys like Khalil, fighting guys like Yuri and Jamal Hill. But I think Magomed has a little bit more fight IQ. I think he's a little bit more smart, and I could see Alex Pereira throwing maybe like a body kick or going to the body, And in that split second, that's where Magomed Ankalaev counters him. You know what I'm saying? Kind of drops him. Like that's kind of what I visualize here. Kind of like similar sequences to the way Khalil Roundtree dropped Alex Pereira early on in their fight. I could see Magomed Ankalaev kind of having similar moments. The difference is that I think that if Magomed drops him, I think he's going to be all over him. That's the problem that I see here. That I think Magomed has a little bit more power than Khalil. I think he's a little bit more aggressive. I think he waits for his moments. I think he has better fight IQ. It's going to be very interesting to see how he does with the low kicks. We saw in the Rakic fight that Magomed was actually doing a very good job early on, kind of defending those low kicks. But then as the fight went on, I felt like he was doing like a not as good of a job of defending those low kicks. And I mean, the Rakic fight too is interesting because I mean, he fought somebody that's a lot taller than him. You know, Rakic I think is a little bit taller than Alex Pereira, and Magomed was still able to find his shots in that fight. So I definitely think he could hit. Like, I don't think the range here is going to be a problem. I'm very curious to see if Magomed really respects Alex Pereira, because I mean, he's been talking a lot of smack on Twitter, and I know that it's probably Ali, but I don't know, man. Magomed's been talking a lot of shit going into this fight. And I'm going to go with Alex Pereira to win this fight. Yeah, I know. I just glazed Magomed Ankalaev. I just literally said how he can win this fight. But honestly, I want Alex Pereira to win, guys. I think that if he wins, he would cement himself as one of the best at 205. Plus, if Alex Pereira wins and then he moves up to fight Tom Aspinall, because we don't really know what's going on with John Jones. It seems like, you know, John Jones is just being a hard ass when it comes to negotiations. He's probably going to end up retiring. Pereira versus Aspinall, I mean, that's an amazing fight. That would be like the final fight for Alex Pereira. And then if he's able to win that fight, I mean, he might be the GOAT. You know what I'm saying? So I want to see greatness. And I think Alex Pereira winning, I want him to win this fight, guys. I'm a big fan of Magomed, but I want Alex to win this fight. I mean, he's just had such an incredible career. But like I said, I'm not confident. I honestly do believe Magomed can win this fight. I think that the grappling could be a weapon. It could also work to his detriment. But he's also very good on the feet, so you can't underestimate Magomed. You can't just say, oh, this guy can, you know, he can't knock me out. I hope that Alex Pereira doesn't underestimate Magomed Ankalaev on the feet. He's a very good counter striker. He's very patient. He's very good at finding his moments and not overextending. And even though like he doesn't have more power than Alex Pereira, if he catches you in one of those exchanges where you're throwing a head kick or you're throwing a jab to the body, he's going to put you out, man. He's going to drop you, and then he's going to be all over you. That's the problem that I see here for Alex Pereira. But I still think that Alex, you know, he's very patient. I think his physicality is going to help with the grappling. I think he has a lot of power, man. His jab looked incredible against Khalil. And I think that he's going to end up breaking Magomed Ankalaev. I think this is a fight that's definitely going to go to the later rounds, the 4th and 5th round. I don't see Pereira just knocking him out like early on. I think this is going to be one of his hardest fights, which is why we're so excited for this fight, man, because this fight is a 50-50. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, I just checked the odds, and it was basically a coin toss. And I completely agree with those odds. Like, I completely agree. I think that you can make a really solid argument for Magomed. I mean, he hasn't really lost. I know he got subbed by Paul Craig many, many years ago. Alex Pereira, he hasn't really lost either. He lost to a fluke to Israel Adesanya in the rematch. We all know that's a fluke, right? We all know that's a fluke. We all accept it now. But this fight is incredible, guys. But I'm going to go with Alex Pereira. I really want him to win. Like I said, I just can't pick against this guy on the feet. He has way too much power. I like the way he fights, man. He's so patient. He doesn't... You know, he doesn't fold under pressure. I think he learned his lesson from the Israel Adesanya fight to, you know, not be so aggressive, not be overzealous. I hope that the trash talk doesn't get to Alex Pereira, because they've been going back and forth on X, and it feels like there's like a real rivalry heating up here, and that kind of worries me for Alex. But I mean, it could also be concerning for Magomed, because I don't really think that's part of his personality. I think maybe he's just trying to get under Pereira's skin and just trying to sell the fight. So I hope that Pereira doesn't start really aggressive, because in that Khalil fight, he started very, very aggressive. I think he started with like a jumping kick. It was very strange. He was very, very aggressive against Khalil Roundtree. And I hope that he doesn't play that way here. I think he needs to be very patient. I think that, you know, the threat of the takedown could definitely make it interesting, right? Because if Pereira is kind of worried about getting taken down, then, you know, that could give him problems. Magomed could start to give him problems on the feet. I think that what's going to end up happening here is that Magomed is going to shoot for a takedown, and as soon as Alex Pereira feels him and knows that, you know, oh, I could kind of defend it, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not in that much danger on the ground. I think that's when he's really going to start pressuring Magomed on the feet, and I think that Pereira needs to pressure Magomed. I don't think that. I think that if this is kind of like a back and forth and Pereira's not really pressuring Magomed, I think Magomed's going to get the better of him, and I could even see Magomed knocking him out. I'm going to be honest. So I think that the pressure is going to be key for Alex Pereira in this fight. But like I said, I think he's going to wait until Magomed shoots for a takedown for him to really be like confident on the feet, for him to be really like, you know what, this guy's not that much of a threat on the ground. You know what I'm saying? So I think Magomed is definitely going to, bring some ground and pound. I know that's something that he hasn't really done in a lot of his fights recently. But I mean, I saw the countdown and he seemed like he was, practicing his ground and pound, and I think that could be key here. I think that if Magomed is smart, he can easily win this fight, which is interesting, right? Because Magomed is definitely the better mixed martial artist, but it is definitely the better striker, but not by much, in my opinion, not by much. Like, I know Magomed isn't knocking guys out left and right, but he's very technical. He's very fast. He has good fight IQ. He has good timing. We saw Khalil kind of give problems to Alex Pereira, and we weren't really giving Khalil a chance in that fight. Khalil was coming off a win over Anthony Smith a year prior, and then before that, a controversial decision against Dustin Jacoby. So we're like, no, Khalil's going to get absolutely murdered, and he actually did a lot better. And I think Magomed has kind of the same attributes in terms of the speed, in terms of being a southpaw, the straight left hand, the right hook, good body kicks, the pressure, confidence, the momentum, the streak. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that, I don't know, man. I kind of want to pick Magomed now that I think about it. But nah, I'm going to stick with my guy. I think Alex Pereira is going to end up winning this matchup. Justin Gaethje fighting Rafa Fiziev on short notice. The rematch that no one asked for. Nobody asked for this rematch. Now, obviously, I'm happy that Justin Gaethje is still staying on the card. I would have much preferred to see Mateus Gamrot or Benio Dariush or Moicano. You guys already heard what I think about that. But this is happening, guys. And I think this is a very interesting rematch. I think that last week when this fight got announced, I was kind of like, okay, yeah, Justin Gaethje is going to win again. And I went back to rewatch the first fight, and I was like, wow, this was actually pretty close. Like, Rafa Fiziev won 1 and 2, in my opinion. And then the third round kind of could have been a 10-8, but I mean, I think Rafa Fiziev might have won the first fight. I mean, I don't know. It was very, very close. I think that because in the third round, Justin Gaethje did such a good job of like imposing damage and really kind of hurting Rafa Fiziev in that third round. I think that it might have swayed our opinion of the fight, but it was actually very, very competitive early on. So I understand why it's still a very close fight and why a lot of people are actually giving Rafa Fiziev a chance in this matchup. I don't know, man. I am a little bit worried about Justin Gaethje, guys. I am a little bit worried about Justin Gaethje because he took so much damage against Max Holloway. He didn't just get knocked out brutally, which he did. He was actually getting outdone, outstruck in that fight the whole time. In all those 5 rounds, the speed was just a problem against Max Holloway. He's older now. He's taking so many knockout losses. And even though Justin Gaethje, like every time he loses or every time he gets knocked out, or like that fight against Charles Oliveira, he always comes back better. Like we saw that when he lost to Charles Oliveira, he came back against Rafa Fiziev. He won that fight, and he knocked out Dustin Poirier. Then he lost to Max Holloway. So maybe he's able to come back, and I definitely think that obviously the circumstances around this fight is definitely favorable to Justin Gaethje because, I mean, we don't know in what shape Rafa Fiziev is going into this fight. And he already tends to slow down as it is in his fights. But, I mean, he has really good Muay Thai. He's really fast, really good body kicks. But what I will say about Rafa Fiziev, one of my criticisms of him is that I don't feel like he's like a very big lightweight. And even though he throws his shots with like a lot of and like a lot of power, quote unquote, he's not really like knocking guys out left and right. I don't think he has like one punch knockout power. I think he's a little bit undersized for the lightweight division. Like I don't think he's like necessarily a big guy. And even though he was like landing on Justin Gaethje in that first fight, like it wasn't like anything where like Justin Gaethje was about to get knocked out. You know what I'm saying? If anything, I think the pop from Max Holloway Max Holloway had more pop than Rafa Fiziev at 155. So I think that's something to know here, that I just, even though we are worried about Justin Gaethje and how durable he's going to be after coming off that Max Holloway loss, it's like Rafa Fiziev is not a one-punch knockout guy in the lightweight division. I mean, he went to a decision with Bobby Green. I know he knocked out Moicano. He beat RDA as well. I think he TKO'd him like in the 4th round or something like that. So, I don't know, man. I'm going to go with my boy Justin Gaethje. I know people are sleeping on him, and I'm definitely worried that the damage has definitely caught up to him. But I think that the circumstances around this fight, the fact that he kind of like I think that he kind of got his timing and his distance down in that third round of the first fight, and like I don't think Rafa Fiziev really landed anything with much significance, even though he was throwing a lot. He's a fighter that tends to gas out, and then going into this fight on short notice, on 10 days notice, I think that's really gonna affect him. So I think Justin Gaethje's actually gonna win this fight, probably by decision. I think it's gonna be one of those fights that's pretty close. I could also see, Justin Gaethje getting knocked out. I could definitely see that, but I don't know, like Rafa Fiziev, unless he really improves and he shows us something that we haven't seen, I don't know. I mean, I think the only way you pick Rafa Fiziev is if you really think Justin Gaethje is going to be super washed going into this fight, and if you think Rafa Fiziev has improved in his time out, because Rafa Fiziev also hasn't fought in quite a while. I believe the last time he fought was in 2023 against Mateusz Gamrot, and in that fight he got really injured. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, what if Rafa Fiziev has ring rust? Like, what? Nobody's really talking about that. Like, what if Rafa Fiziev has ring rust? I think Justin Gaethje is going to be very patient early on. I think he's going to find his shots. He has a really good jab, and every time Justin Gaethje, gets a really bad loss, he comes back better. And I don't necessarily know if he's going to come back better, but if he comes back with a couple of adjustments, maybe puts on the pressure on Rafa Fiziev, I think he's going to win this fight. Jalen Turner, I think he's a bit of an underdog. I think he's getting underestimated going into this fight. The reason why I'm going to pick Jalen Turner is because I don't think Ignacio Bahamondes is a grappler. I mean, he's also a striker, and I think Jalen Turner has power. He has speed. I think he should win this fight. I think it's going to be a scrap. I mean, it's going to be an amazing fight, but I'm going to go with Jalen Turner to win that fight. Even though Jalen Turner, man, he's one of those guys that you just cannot trust, man. I picked him against Moicano. I picked him against Dan Hooker. And he gets into a scrap, and then he's kind of a quitter, man. I feel like he tends to quit in his fights, but I think he's going to win this fight against Ignacio Bahamondes. I think he's going to win this fight. And then for the next fight, a women's fight, Amanda Lemos versus Lucindo. I'm going to go with Amanda Lemos. Probably by decision because it's a woman fight. Bobby Green versus Mauricio Rufy. I'm going to go with Mauricio Rufy, even though I do think he's a little bit overrated. But, I mean, Bobby Green is so chinny. He's so open on the feet. He's not defensively sound. I don't know, man. I think this is just like, I'm just picking Mauricio Rufy just because he's the younger guy. He's very elusive on the feet. He's a pretty good striker. And I just don't think this is a test for him. I think Bobby Green is definitely past his prime. I mean, he's been past his prime for a while now. And I just don't see how he beats Mauricio Rufy. I mean, maybe just by winning a couple rounds and then winning a decision. That's the only way. I don't see him knocking out Mauricio Rufy. I think Mauricio Rufy is going to have more power. I think he's going to be the more explosive, elusive guy on the feet. And I just think Mauricio Rufy is probably going to win by a TKO or KO in the second round.